is I, Broderick Wallace. Thank you for joining me. Basically, this is a really quick introduction to the announcement of Seshen Circle Bluebell Hill, operative as from today. I've recorded the longer version. Unfortunately, there was a bit of noise. I need to run it through a denoiser, a sound cleaner or something. So if you're interested in Hermetic development, perhaps you'll be interested and patient enough to sit through the whole video. If you're not, then this will save you some time. And I'm currently working on preparing for the next guest on the podcast, so I'll see you there. But for those who are perhaps even curious, Seshen Circle Bluebell Hill is a circle springing from the Seshen School of Hermetic Meditation, where I will be acting as a psychopomp, if you like, between the student, perhaps even yourself, and the teachings and the situation within the wider group. So if you're interested in the teachings, the training as laid out by Franz Bardon, this could be a wonderful opportunity. I'm doing it, because I'm passionate about it, and there's no rush. It's there. However long it takes to build up, that's fine with me. So anyway, this is the quick version. So if you like, stay for the long version by the fire. And links below, and I'm here if you have any questions. Okay, thank you so much. Goodbye for now. See you in a moment, maybe.
Hello, this is I, Broderick Wallace, and I'm making this pre-recorded video to announce Seshen Circle, Bluebell Hill, 21st. The winter solstice. And why this date? Because this date is very special to me personally. It's special to many people all over the world. It's also associated with Christmas, and endings and new beginnings, and it was exactly 10 years ago on this day that I finished and presented a recording under the banner of my music project JEKAZOL, called ESCHATOLOGY, in a ceremonial vibe and setting. And there was an intention. Sometimes you have to be really patient with your intentions. A very long time. So, fast forwarding from that day to this, exactly 10 years later, I would say my intentions advance. And so what is Seshen Circle Bluebell Hill? So we have to start with the idea of the Hermetic practice and all of the baggage that comes with that, associations with ancient Egypt and you know, the magic and mysticism of the ancient world. Of course, all of that, I assume that if you watch my channel, you'll already be quite familiar, so no need to go into details there. And the first key point really is Franz Bardon. The book Initiation into Hermetics, which begins the training as laid out by Franz Bardon. This book has changed my life for the better. I know other people who will say the same thing. I believe this is a very, very special and transformative book. I don't just believe it, I know it. And the teachings as laid out by Franz Bardon have been embellished and systematized and solidified, and also obviously they've taken on the flavour of my teacher, Mr. Martin Fultz. So basically, if we have Bardon, Martin Fultz, the student of Franz Bardon, I am the student of Martin Fultz. Basically what I'm doing is I'm setting myself up as a go-between between whoever decides to join, obviously, and the teachings systematized by Mr. Fultz as laid out by Franz Bardon. So yeah, a kind of psychopomp, kind of guide, because I've reached the stage where I can do this, and Seshen, and I'll put some links down below. The school is named after the ancient Egyptian word for the lotus flower. And the lotus flower is special because it's, you might say, self-cleaning. It sheds off dirt. And obviously there's the analogy, you know, emerging up from the dirt, you know, under the water, bursting up through the surface and blooming beautiful and clean. Now I'm speaking to you on the edge of a field in the Bluebell Hill region of the Aylesford Downs in Kent, UK, England. And there is an analogy with this lotus flower in this part of the world. That is the lily. And by some strange twist of fate, you might say, divine providence or destiny, the name of this lily just happens to coincide with certain intuitions regarding my experiences in the landscape. I won't go into that now here, because it's very important to say that I'm talking about this Hermetic training, which is principally a universal system of spiritual training. And there's a lot of meditation. The aim is to become better, more conscious, more present, and thus this process enables one to bring about effects in the world. So By the time you see this video, on the day itself, I would have created the group for Seshen Circle Bluebell Hill. So check out the link for that. And what I'm doing is I'm inviting people to join that group first. This will be principally online. If anyone wants to, anyone in the area or visiting the area who wants to sit in conversation and meditation with me, I'll be around, I'll show up, I'll be more than happy. But, this is the way the world is moving. It needs to be principally online. So, as my role as a psychopomp, I will be in contact with, to begin with, aspirant students, and hopefully, before too long, full students beginning the path of Hermetics, laid out by Franz Bardon and systematized by Occult. And I haven't been open about everything, but there is something of my journey over the last 3 years documented on my channel. I've been through a lot of changes, obviously I've made videos that I wouldn't dream of making now. And I'm very proud of that process, so I understand it's the same for everyone. And Seshen is open to anyone from any walk of life, any background. The point is, if you're serious about Hermetic training, there is an opportunity. Obviously, it would come to the point where some of the pressure needs to be taken off of Martin, but you will still be, a student within the same system, interacting in the same ways. But I will be there to help you in the ways in which I can, which will take some pressure off and enable this organisation, this group, this order of the Lotus to begin to blossom, to spread. Now, these subjects are all-consuming passion of mine, so I'm honoured and just really pleased, to have the opportunity to be a part of this process. And everyone's different. You see, when I first had these ideas, I'm going to start this circle, Bluebell Hill, because this landscape is very dear to me. I did imagine it as being kind of pagan, like I am kind of pagan. Obviously, when you practice these methods, they're very universal. So I've kind of changed my mind about that. So I would say that within the heart of Seshen Circle Bluebell Hill, there is something very, very special there for anyone from that kind of background or taste or like mine. And there needs to be something like this for those kinds of people. But you could be anyone from anywhere. All that matters is you're interested in reading through initiation into Hermetics and carrying out the practices within. You're interested in self-transformation. So principally it's It's universal. But every group's going to have its flavour. The mother group has the Egyptian lotus, and this group that has sprung from the mother group will have the lily, the bluebell, and I don't need to go into the reasons why I'm so confident, the reasons why I have the confidence to begin this process. You might say I read the signs, I took the opportunities. So, with our feet in the ground and our head in the clouds, as it were. It's very important to me that I don't try to sell this, if you like, because I don't need to do this. I want to do this, and I would say, even if you're just curious about this process, take a look. I'm contactable. I'm here as Broderick Wallace in the landscape, and you'll find me on Facebook as William Mortal. You'll find it's a common thing for people involved in these kinds of activities to have more than one name for various reasons. So here it is. It has begun, and I'm very patient, and I have a history of finishing the projects I begin. All but one, but that's another story, and complicated. Trials, tribulations, mistakes, they're all a part of the process. And I've made the analogy in previous videos in terms of the training that wildness provides. And there are certain things you can't fake. There's this idea of turning faults into virtues, wanting to find expression in a certain way, and it becomes a fault because one is unable to fully express themselves harmoniously and nobly. So these things, they become expressed as faults. And one of the most common faults in the modern world is this unreal and yet strangely real digital experience that we're all having. So I would invite people to tone down the incessant posting, this video, that video, this walk of life, that, all of the arguing, all of the political machinations, and simplify and ennoble life humbly by going through this process, if one is so called to the point. taken a lot to get to this point, and so I should be working on preparing for my next guest on the podcast and various other projects, including survival, which we're all familiar with, and please feel free to check out the links below, and I'm here if you have any questions. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and your inspiration. Take care.
Hello, it is I, Broderick Wallace, and who's this? Can I?
Hello.
It's Mr. Connor, and this is the 10th anniversary, the 10th time that we've met here at the Stones, this holy place, this special place. Obviously, the first time to deliver the offering of Eschatology by JEKAZOL, which we were both involved in. So 10 years on, we're standing here right now looking west, and I just thought I'd just take a little bit of footage, and I just said to myself, what would I tell myself? What would I tell the me of 10 years ago? What advice would I give myself? Because it's gone really quick. Even though so much has happened, it's gone so quickly. And I would tell myself, don't get divorced. Whatever you're going through, however you feel, just value the family unit over and above all things. And if I had have done that, there would be no Broderick Wallace, because I wouldn't have gone through the things that I needed to go through. I wouldn't have had all that time, so much to be alone, to have, it's not worth explaining the details, but it wouldn't have happened this way. So it's funny to think that this process has led me to be living, although I will admit, a very difficult life. I am pursuing what you might call the true will. So that's what I would say to myself. I would say, be good. So, Mr. Connor, if I can get you on camera there, what advice would you give yourself?
Well, I would say...
Oh, I forgot something. Sorry. Start initiation into Hermetics with full gusto. Right, because it's real. Right.
That would have been my first thing. So with IIH, I gave up because I thought I wasn't doing well enough, and actually I was doing all right. So shouldn't have dropped the ball back in 2014, 2015. But maybe if I'd kept it up, I wouldn't have failed, and I wouldn't have discovered Seshen and the teachings of Martin. So perhaps that failure worked out in the end. But I think living more in the moment and appreciating everything on a day-to-day basis, particularly my wife and the people around me, living presently with that and appreciating it, rather than obsessing over things that you wanted to arrive at in the future. But I have arrived where I wanted to be in the future in most cases, so perhaps that sacrifice was well made. But you have to look back and use it as a basis for changing. And when you've done this, when you're at a 10-year marker like we are today, you have to use it as a basis for changing. The next 10 years we want to be standing here saying we made the changes. Yeah. And we got a lot more right in that next decade, because decade seems like a long time, but it really isn't, and that's something else I know now.
Yeah, so if you're like, I don't know, 25 years old, and you think, like a lot of you are, so cocky, like a flash it will come round, and the next 10 years and the next, and it speeds up. Even the seconds on the clock, they get faster. I'm telling you, like, I used to look at those seconds on the clock, and I'm telling you, they go by quicker now. Just the very perception of time itself, it speeds up. And I guess what we're saying is, would you agree that you can't come out clean? It's like no one comes out clean.
Nope.
Like you can either hide and sort of make an attempt to stay clean, stay out of all trouble, not take on as much as you can carry in terms of who you want to be and what you want to do, and you'll come out with that kind of regret, or you'll be slightly reckless like I was, and you'll come out with that kind of regret. And it's like once you've gone through all that, then you go through the process. Hopefully, if you found a good friend group and a sensible way forward, you'll spend the next said time period correcting. So it's like you get yourself into this mess, find the key, and then get yourself out, and by the time you've done that, it's probably about 20 years have gone by. And but to be honest, I mean, being 45, it's like a halfway point in a way. When you see, I think meditation, there are many things that leave you. A lot of the things that the culture is obsessed with, like youth and the overemphasis on sexuality, and the way that you are, that people depict themselves in photographs and such like. A lot of this it falls from you. So I look forward to the next half of my life enjoying the idea of a more refined character, enjoying grown up things, I guess, but obviously still having some fun here and there. What would you say to that?
Another thing would be, don't refrain from starting things because you think they're going to take too long, because 10 years is not a long time. So I've just taken up piano playing this year, and it's going to take me probably 10 years to get to even a basic level of being able to play it. But that doesn't bother me, because I know that won't be long. I know that suddenly I'll be like, oh, I did this, and it wasn't too much time. Same with a lot of things, just it's not a long time. Start things, because time will tick by, and also you'll need time to drop the ball, because you will drop the ball. You'll need time to fail, because you will fail. And don't forget that something that if you did it perfectly would take 6 months will still take you 10 years, because of all the faffing around you'll end up having to do. So
I would add to that, whatever you do start, make sure that you don't be so perfectionist that you don't come up with a finished product. So for instance, in the case of music, which is the reason we first started coming here, there isn't a song I've written that doesn't have something that I would change now, but give it enough time and you're like, that's okay, that's good enough, because I tried my best. So there is something to show for all those years sat there, playing scales and doing exercises and studying a little bit of guitar theory and writing songs and sitting there with my dictaphone, that riff, save that, and writing lyrics. It's like there's something to show for it. Like if you're, I'm obviously being selfish here because I'm talking about my own things. Like I can draw. I've made sure that there's a good chunk of art online. Before, my eyesight is quite bad and it's not getting any better. So I thought, you know, capture this moment and make some art that I can be proud of. Like, I feel that I wouldn't need to draw another picture and I'm satisfied. I certainly don't need to write another song. So what you do is you have something to show. Like, if you're too perfectionist, if you keep putting things off to the future, you really need to strike while the iron is hot. And I feel that same way about writing. I mean, I recently wrote a chapter which I uploaded on the channel. You know, it had a certain time period. I know there's things in there that maybe grammatically that I would change now. There's a couple of mistakes, there's things I don't quite see the same, but the moment was captured. So that's another really important thing that I've learned. Like, just don't live your life in practice. It's the same with the Hermetics training. It's like, yes, the practice is wonderful, but you want to be applying that practice to real world changes and the way that your mind participates in the all, if you like.
Yeah, I've got to echo the words of our teacher who recently said,
whose birthday it is today.
Oh, that's a
happy birthday,
thing.
Martin.
Happy birthday, Martin. And so what a fitting occasion to echo his words, but it's a really important thing to note that someone approaching. Someone approaches.
Someone's approaching. Someone's approaching. Hey, who goes there?
Not me to freak you out.
Don't worry, it's fine. I'm giving the first call, so to let you know it's fine.
Yeah.
We're just celebrating the solstice. Are you doing the same?
No, I'm actually running to work.
Running to what? Oh, fair enough then.
Yeah.
All right. No.
Sounds a lot nicer.
Yeah, don't worry. We're just two history buffs who like to meet here. Nothing weird going on.
I think it's amazing. So
And fully clothed.
Yeah.
Anyway, so.
Okay, darling. You have a great day. Yeah. Take care. Oh, there we go. I thought that might be whoever leaves offerings here.
Oh, yeah.
I'm hoping to meet that person one of these days. But people don't tend to do that. See, this is the thing. They only tend to show up in summer solstice and all that. When it comes the winter solstice, that's what that's for men, right? That sorts out the wheat from the chaff. Anyway, you were going to say something.
I was going to say that.
I'm trying to get this camera.
Yeah,
Go back a bit. Sorry, my friend.
Another thing.
Lean against the bars and then I can get you on camera. I'm trying to twist this.
Our teacher recently told our group that if you put energy, well, in our case, if you put energy into something that breathes improvement into every single area of your life, right down to specific skills that you may want to deploy every day, to your mood, to your ability to control yourself. We don't need to get into the specifics of it, but it makes sense to put your energy into something that improves all things gradually than to viscerally put yourself in an imbalanced way into one particular thing. I'm very guilty of that, so I've spent a lot of time, especially over the last few years, most of my energy into something, the thing I want the most. It's always going to be at the expense of something else, whereas if you take the long-term 10-year view, if you put your energies into a practice that, like I said, breathes improvement into every area of your life, it'll all grow. So those individual areas will grow more slowly, but after 10 years it will all have grown substantially. And don't forget that each area of your life creates a feedback between another area and improves it as well. So
if we'd done this training in our teens, our early 20s, just think how different things. I mean, I know I wouldn't have made those mistakes that I made in my late 30s. I wouldn't have been interested. Like I say, the irony is that those mistakes produced these experiences, this story, everything that's. But there's nothing. I will say there's nothing glamorous about it. I'll be honest, because I mean, just surviving has been problematic. I'll use the modern term. So I'm not getting too starry-eyed here, to be honest. But I mean, look, here we are. there's something special about this place, and it's not the only place in the world that if you treat it special and you find the time, I mean, I've said this before, but like, you just look out over, I mean, you can hear the traffic, civilization over there, just constantly caught up in that, you know, chasing a carrot on a stick. I remember I brought my oldest daughter here once, and I remember she stood for a second and she said, "This place is sensible." Because she felt the vibe, you know, you get away from that, you stand here. And again, I've said this many times in different ways on my channel, it relates to meditation as well. That silence, that space, that stillness, and that patience. You will experience things that the multitude doesn't, that can't even imagine exist if you apply yourself that way. But talking specifically about places, nothing special until you make it special, you know. And so I guess that's what I've got to say on that. Sorry, were you halfway through something, or
No, I think,
shine the light in your face there?
I think the point had been made. Oh, but one other thing
Yeah.
that I wish I'd done more of over the last particularly 5 years is sleep. And I'm not being lazy, and also because
Yeah, tell me about
it
it.
is a big problem solver. And if until I started tracking my sleep using a device, I didn't realise how little sleep I was getting. So like I love to go to the gym. I used to go to the gym 6 times a week
Yeah.
because I thought I was going to get, you know, I was going to make my improvements quicker. Now I go 2 to 3 times a week, and half the time I wake up and my mind wants to go, but I end up sleeping. And I tell you what, it's a logical reductionist approach, and it works. And if you can do that in your life, spend more time recuperating so that when you do make an effort, it's done fully and
Rest
not
and recovery.
half asleep.
Yeah, I'm guilty as well. I know I haven't had enough sleep for years on end, and
It starts showing up in your eyes. You know,
yeah.
you don't want to be
I
one
mean,
of those
in
people.
in your words, Neil, what was it you said? You said the older you get, the more you look like the way you do on a Monday morning after a heavy night out.
Yeah, you look like that on some days.
Yeah.
You actually look like that.
You look more like that as in your normal state as the years go by. And but anyway, yeah. Before we get too sentimental, obviously the video you're currently watching, I mean, that's a good little, just a little bit of chilled side chat there. And so here we are at the Stones, and I'll turn the camera on a bit later as the sun comes up. Gonna obviously make a ritual here, make this place, the energy of the intention, we're gonna solidify that, and you're a part of it if you're watching, you know. And so I'm going to create a group, like I've said probably already twice. I've probably already said this twice to the listener. I do apologise, but the group shall be made here. So give me a little bit of slack if it kind of looks empty on there, because it's going to take a little while to, you know, get some content on there. But the idea is that if you're interested, you join the group, and we take it from there. And so yeah. So yeah, I'm going to turn the camera off now, and but from your point of view, right back as the sun begins to rise, or we'll be back. Take care. Good morning. The sun has risen behind me, and well done if you've made it this far. That's wonderful. I guess all I need to say is I shall be making the Seshen Circle, Bluebell Hill Facebook group very soon at the appropriate time, so you can find the link below. Also a link, I shall find a page appropriate to the mother group, the Seshen School of Hermetic Meditation. And why not, I'll throw in, obviously because I've mentioned it, 2 more links. One to the music project, which is obviously the 10th anniversary today on the 21st of the 12th 22, and also there's a documentary about that music project, ESCHATOLOGY by JEKAZOL. So yeah, I think that's everything for now. This will all belong in its own playlist, S, C, BBH probably, and so from now on I can just simply refer to this playlist and carry on for the most part with interviews and the occasional chatty video in the normal way. So cheers.